MacVoices at NAB 2024. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. And we're in Las Vegas at NAB. You never know who you're going to meet where and where it might lead. Ajey and I met in the elevator at the hotel. What he did sounded interesting, so I wanted to come over and talk to him. He is the CEO of Nordigen Media. I'm going to let you take it from there and explain what it is that you do, because it sounded really interesting.
Yeah, cheers, Chuck. It was great to meet you, first of all, in the elevator on the Strip in Las Vegas. But it's fantastic that we've met again here. What we're doing is we're a Norwegian company. We're here in the NAB show. We're presenting ourselves for the first time in America. What we basically do back in Europe is essentially build user experience TV apps on smart TVs and connected TV devices. There are so many new TVs today and new types of TVs that consumers get to buy. Mm-hmm. And these are all driven by app stores. And we feel that the TV is as good as the apps on the app store in itself. There's some great TV OSs like Roku and Fire TV that's doing very well in America. And then there's Samsung, LG, and a whole lot of new brands. What we do is bring applications for broadcasters and streaming apps essentially onto these platforms so that a consumer who has different sets of TVs, whether it's a Roku or a Fire TV or a Samsung at home, they find the same app across all of these devices, the same experiences and brands and content across all these different fragmented devices across their home, essentially.
So you said a mouthful when you said that, about the user experience. And because right now, Roku has been getting a lot of bad press.
Yeah.
Fire TV always is a little bit of a challenge because Amazon has their own priorities, and they're not necessarily yours as a viewer. So, how do you manage that? Do you contract with the companies? Do you create your own and then go try to sell it to those as a superior experience?
I think that's a very good question. To your point, Roku is a company that has a very clear vision of how their UI UX needs to be. It's very different from everyone else in the market in terms of technology, in terms of UI. It's a struggle for them, of course, when they're trying to fight against their vision of what UI UX should be, what the experience, what the technology choices of the apps within their app stores needs to be. I don't want to get too technical, that you'll have to ring me, but basically, if you want to make sure that the user experience remains the same, there's Samsung, LG, there's a whole lot of smart TV devices which are quite similar in itself in terms of the apps that you find in there. Fire TV, on the other hand, is Google. Google is a giant. Google also dictates, much like Apple, how applications, the use of small nuances of UI, UX needs to be on these applications. Now, all of this is difficult to follow because all of these giants are both right and both wrong, but they have their own vision. It's our duty as Nordigen Media to follow these companies to make sure that we understand them. We don't contradict them. We make sure that we understand their vision and to find the best possible ways for broadcasters, operators, and streaming apps to be on these devices with one core technology so that they don't spend too much money, simply because at the end of the day, TV streaming on larger screen devices is a new industry to make sure that streaming becomes big and, on your home screens. We essentially want to make sure that people actually invest the right amount of money while they earn money too.
So you don't create applications for the customer. You work with the manufacturers. Is that correct?
We work with the broadcasters. We're thinking Peacock and Netflix and smaller broadcasters. There's a ton of them because of the fast channels that there are. We want to make sure that any content provider, whether you're a small, medium, or large company, whether you need a white label application or whether you want a custom design application, we work with them. But we work with the OEM, Samsung and Roku and Fire TV, just to make sure that these apps are well placed, to make sure that they're certified, they're in good quality, and they're searchable within the vast app stores.
It's an interesting conversation because for most of my lifetime, you turned on the TV and you changed channels, and there really was no interface. Now all of a sudden, we have Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, Google TV. So everybody has their idea, and it's overlaid this issue of what they want, as opposed to necessarily what I want to just sit down and watch what I want to watch.
Yeah,
and to be able to find what I want to watch is the other thing.
I think it's a complex new world, but I think it's coming into place. I think when you turn on a Roku app or a Roku channel, you can see all of the channels that they aggregate. But the problem becomes when you have Roku in one side of your home, you're used to Roku, and you have Fire TV on the other, and you have Samsung as well at home. A lot of people have more than one TVs, and they need to understand that these are differently aggregated content the fast channels that you see on Roku channel or Samsung TV Plus are very widely different from what they choose to aggregate. So a consumer experience is going to be a little different, but they're trying their best in terms of making sure that when you turn on your TV, you have some channels, but this is dictated by Samsung and Roku individually because they control the devices at the end of the day. We're in a space where I think, to answer your other question, I think that there is lots of change from who plays what role in the industry. Back in the day, there was a broadcaster, there was a content creator, there was Disney who was only creating content. Today, Disney is going directly to consumer. There were small user-generated content that was, cast aside, but today they're making a lot of premium content, and some of those small companies are creating their own channels in terms of a small content provider across all of these fast channels. Essentially, they're reaching consumers in a bigger way and comparably so to the bigger brands. So I wouldn't say that there are 4 majors today across the world in terms of content providers. There are probably 400.
Yeah, it's a brave new world, for better or worse.
Absolutely. And streaming's making it easy.
So where can we send folks to learn more about what you do and who you do it with?
So in America, we work with companies like Vivo Music, who have a great CTV fast experience and apps across the world. We're working with a lot of other companies who have CTV strategies on the smart TVs itself, whether it be privacy and audits, the quality of their applications, design and development of their applications too. Where you can find us is the internet, essentially, to say hello. We're called Nordigen Media. We're based in Oslo, in Norway, but we're also very often in America.
Great. Thank you so much for the conversation, both here and in the elevator. It
Absolutely.
was very informative. Very
Cheers.
informative. Thank you.
Nice to see you too.
Folks, we'll have more from NAB in Las Vegas. I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.